This is Rob Talbot for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined today by Erik Skoglund, former European light heavyweight champion. We're here in London ahead of Anthony Yigit's return to the ring against CR Rosgall. How you doing, Erik?
Happy to be here. Nice to be here. And I'm doing fine myself. Getting better and better each day.
Let's just jump straight into it. A lot of people know you for, first and foremost, your fight with Callum Smith. Well, certainly a lot of people over here, should I say, know you for that fight. And then, unfortunately, your injury that forced you to retire from the sport. First of all, how are you doing? You look very healthy. You look very well. How are you these days?
I'm still better each day. And I think, the motivation of getting 110% better and 110% fit is what takes me forward. So, I'm not there quite yet, but I'm aiming to get there.
Talk to me, if you can, about your day-to-day. How has your injury affected your day-to-day? Do you still have issues with things now? Is it still a work in progress?
Yeah, it's a bit with my memory sometimes, and when it gets very noisy and a lot of people and a lot of stress, I can't handle it quite the way that I used to. But still, I'm learning and I'm developing methods to handle it. So I'm getting better every week.
Now, we've just sat here with a good friend of yours, Anthony Yigit. He said to me that having you around him, because you're now working officially as part of his team, having you around him helps him relax before fights. He says that you can calm him down. Explain to me the relationship between you and Anthony. I know you've known each other for a long time.
Yeah, first of all, Anthony is one of my best friends. So if there's anything I can do to help him, I'm very happy to. And you can see that my experience are coming to use. And I'm very happy about it.
How long have you known Anthony? Have you known each other since? I know that you go back a few years, but I don't know how many exactly. When did you first meet him?
I first met him when we were 15 years old in the youth national team. We had a few competitions together, but then I moved early to Germany, turning pro a few years before Anthony. And he came down after the Olympics 2012, and we didn't know each other very well, but we lived together in a small part of Berlin, eastern Berlin. So there was nothing else to do than to hang out with each other, and I got to know him better and better then.
What type of a person is Anthony, and why do you have such a close relationship now? What was it about him and you?
He's really the best. He's an amazing person. He's so nice and he's funny too, but he's very nice and he's the best.
What's it like for you to be around him? You were unfortunate that you had to call an early end to your boxing career. For some fighters, being around boxing is too difficult for them sometimes. And for other fighters, it can often be when you back involved with the sport, it makes you feel better. What was it like for you?
Yeah, it makes me feel better because not being involved at all, it's not an option, because boxing is and has been since I was 11 years old my life. So throwing in the towel for good would be like digging my own grave. So I can't imagine what that would be like. So as it is today, I can't fight myself. I'd rather be a part of some other fighter's corner than not being involved at all.
Anthony tells me that you're still quite active in the gym though. He says that you're very strong and says you still participate where possible in the gym. I know you've got a little smile on your face there. Explain to me how active you are now and what sort of stuff can you do in the gym?
I'm training to get fit and it seems like I'm working similar to in fight preparation, early in the fight preparation. And my goal is to be not 100% fit, but 110% fit. I want to be even better than I was getting injured. So it's quite a bit left, but I know what I have to do and what it takes. So I'm getting there.
When you have such a serious injury as you did, How does it change? I mean, because I don't know. How does it change your outlook on life afterwards when you come back and are able to, well, recover? I know it's still an ongoing process, but how does it change your outlook on the rest of your life?
I'm much more positive because I don't take life for granted, and I appreciate those small things. Earlier, I had my goal, and my long-term goal was to be the best fighter in the world, and that's just the only thing that I lived for. So I took every day to be that person, and I didn't look in the mirror. What have I done so far, and how far have I get? So I appreciate life much more today.
Now, of course, your injury happened while you were in preparation for a fight. Your last actual fight was against Callum Smith. How much memory or recollection do you have of that fight?
Yeah, a lot. I remember that fight very well. And unfortunately, I lost that fight. And I'm very happy for Callum because he moved on and win the whole tournament. And I can't help wonder what it would be like if I haven't fought him in the first round, because I think the other guys I would have beaten.
What was it like coming off that? I mean, you were well known on the inner sanctum of boxing then. You'd competed, as I said before, at European level. But after that fight was your kind of breakout, even in defeat. I mean, you gave Callum Smith arguably his toughest fight of the tournament. What was that like for you after that? Were you... No fighter is ever happy to have lost, but were you positive about the fight afterwards?
Not the result, but the fight, yeah. And I was just trying to get back on that horse as soon as possible again. Booked a new fight and training hard for it because I just wanted to stay busy and to develop my offensive skills, because I thought that after the loss against Callum, would need to push the opponent more and be more aggressive myself to be able to win even when I wasn't fighting in my hometown. So that's what I was working for, and that's when I got injured too.
What can you tell me about the injury? I mean, I don't know the ins and outs. I know that you were in a coma, obviously for head trauma and bleed on the brain. But what exactly happened in the build-up, if you can remember?
Yeah, I can't remember myself, but I was being told very much in detail what happened, and I was having sparring with a friend in Sweden. And I was working hard for the fight with Rocky Fielding that got postponed, and it was postponed I think 2 days earlier or something like that, and we didn't get a new date, but I thought it's gonna be soon enough anyway, so I'm staying busy, staying in training camp, and I was sparring with a friend who had a fight coming up as well, and we said we should spar 6 rounds. We did, and we finished it. And when I came back to my brother, who was standing in the corner, he was like, touching my gloves and say, well done, good sparring, good job. And I was complaining, I said, I don't feel good, I have headache, and I can't feel good. And he's like, but it's a weekend now, you get to rest, and we'll see you again Monday. And I was getting more and more like panic and say, help me out, take off the gloves, it's not good. And they were just finished taking me off the gloves, and I was falling together.
What happened? I mean, I know that you won't remember what happened from there. That's when you unfortunately did become ill. But what happened? I mean, obviously you were told by doctors, and you'd be able to tell me now, but what was the issue after that?
They've told me that I had a traumatic brain injury, brain bleed, and that it seemed like it was caused by violence. But of course, well, what else can they say? Here comes a guy with the gloves on, in a coma, and of course they have to say like it was because of the boxing. I think it was, but I wasn't knocked out or even getting hit hard at the time, so I'm not quite sure.
What's your first memory of after the injury? What's the first thing that you can remember after that?
I remember sitting in what has to have been a wheelchair, and I recall everything, and I connect everything to boxing, and with the doctors and people with white robes. I think, oh, I'm in a fight control, and I remember the doctor asking me, "Can you put your arms straight forward?" And I was like, they don't used to ask questions like this, but what is this, a real doctor? I better do what he says. And then was like, I saw myself from above, and this poor guy who was sitting there, he couldn't lift his arm. His right arm was hanging just aside of him, and his left arm was like waving around in the shoulder. And then I thought, poor bastard, he has a long way to go.
And that person, of course, was you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, was you. Yes. Explain to me the period of time, the rehabilitation. How much could you do at the start? How slow was it? How difficult was it to get to where you are now?
Of course, in the very beginning, I can't remember at all.
Sure.
But I've heard that it was just my eyes moving around. I was totally lame. And after a while, I could move a little bit. And I started to move my left side. I heard afterwards that it was because the bleeding was on my left side of the brain, and that connects with the right side of the body, so that's why I couldn't move my right side. But I remember what it felt like to be lame in the right side and just moving my left. That was pretty scary.
That's kind of where I was going to go with that. How scared? It seems like a silly question to ask, but how scared are you in that moment? What goes through your mind when you're having these kind of, you're suffering from these symptoms? What goes through your mind? You're somebody who has made a career and a life out of being very, very active, and you're now on the opposite side of the spectrum. What was that like for you?
It's a very weird feeling because I didn't realize at that moment how bad it was. I thought when they pulled me out on the scale because they wanted to see how much I've lost. I remember I was like 87 when I was put in a coma, trying to move down again to super middleweight for my fight with Rocky Fielding, and then they put me on the scale and I was like 72. All the muscles were gone, and I was like, I said to my father, you should call Sauron and say that I'm a middleweight now. I didn't realize that. And I saw the sad look on my father's face, and he was like, "Yeah, but we better not make that decision yet." And that was one of my first memories about my physique. And I was working very hard to learn how to walk again. I remember walking in this, I don't know the English word for it, like a corridor between two like ceilings that you can take. And I remember I couldn't lift my right foot. I was like moving very bad. And but developing. So after a few weeks, it was easier.
How soon after the injury did you realise that you would never box again?
I still haven't realized that. I still haven't accepted it, and that's actually what I'm working for every day to get to make my own decision. I've said I'm not happy being 100%. I want to be 110%, and a lot of people keep telling me that's not possible. It's never gonna happen. But no one of them who's telling me that has ever tried themselves. So I think I'm gonna find out what is true myself, and I'm gonna create my own end.
Sure, and I respect that, and I do apologise for insinuating anything on the contrary. Let me rephrase. You make an interesting point there. Is it difficult for you to realise that potentially, or do you still believe that it is a possibility that you could indeed fight again?
Yeah, I still believe it's possible, but I'm not there quite yet, and it's quite a journey, quite a bit to go. But I think nothing is impossible, and I think that's what you need to think when you wake up and can't move. And my family was so terrified, and the doctor said, like, he might move again, he may not. We will just wait and see, because we can't tell how the brain is healing and how good he will be. So I've tried since then to create my own future and my own truth, and I want to find out what is possible and not.
Well, I wish you all the best in whatever it is that you decide to do. You already strike me as somebody who's very accomplished in many different areas of your life. Just final word, one of the things that I remember about when you were injured was the massive outpouring of support from the boxing community. Callum Smith, well, the whole Smith family. George Groves, I know he had his similar situation with Edward Goodnecht. What was that like for you to appreciate? Potentially at the time you couldn't appreciate it, but looking back, what does it mean to you to have had that such massive support from the boxing community?
It was, I can't put words on it. It was, yeah, I'm almost falling to tears now. It was massive. It was massive support, and I've gone through all my emails personally and answered all of them, and it took a few months because there were so many, and people were telling me so lovely things, and there is so much love in the sport of boxing, and I can't see people overall. They can't see that. They can't tell because it's just fighters, two people fighting each other, but from all the opponents, from all sparring partners, from everyone in boxing, they've contacted me with lovely wishes. So yeah, I really appreciate.
Yeah, I agree. Boxing, for all of its kind of, a lot of people from the outside like to put a negative spin on a lot of things in boxing, but we are a big family, a very strange family. But no, I mean, you, as I say, sit here today, and I would never have believed if I had not met you that you'd had suffered these injuries. Congratulations on kind of being where you are now. It's really refreshing and liberating and empowering to hear you talking so candidly about the future and what can still come. So I wish you all the best with that. It's really very inspiring for me to sit here and listen to that from you. Final word. What's the future like for Erik Skoglund?
What the future will be like, I can't tell.
Good answer. Erik Skoglund, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Real pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your story with me and our viewers. Hopefully catch up with you soon.
Thank you very much, and I apologize for my bad English.
Your English is a lot better than a lot of English fighters, don't worry about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.